Hello, my friends. How are you today? Oh my goodness. I can't believe it's another magnificent Monday. And I am stunned that it is the last Monday of February. Where has the time gone? Wasn't it just January 1st? And now we're just approaching the end of 2 months by the end of this week. It is so insane to me how fast time is flying. But I ended up being up late again last night, and I just have so many projects and things I want to work on, and then the kids and work and just so many things. I just need 100 more hours in my day because I have so much energy to get these things done, excitement energy, not necessarily mental and physical energy at all times. Like I say, some days I have to go and take a little 5-minute siesta because I'm okay, I need a little break, and I've been honoring that. I did not get that today, but over the weekend there were a couple days that I was I'm going to lay down for a minute, and it felt so stinking good. But anyways, so I was up last night. I was helping Dylan. He was asking me some questions because he had this big interview today. He had this huge opportunity, right? I was telling you how he had torn his ACL, and then that meant he couldn't play soccer for a year. And then it meant that he had to make some decisions. And so what he did was, instead of saying one door closed, he just saw it as another opportunity for something else to open. And he utilized all of his soccer knowledge and put it towards, the soccer video game, and he's done really well. So he's continued to get better and better. And he's an athlete. So he was craving that emotion and that rush of being able to compete. And so this fulfilled that. And then also the sense of community, right? Because he was on a team. They would meet a couple times a week and on the weekends, and you lose that little bit of your community. And so now he's created this whole new soccer community. Like I said, he's reaching out to people himself, and he's made friends from somebody from Ghana, somebody from other states, somebody from Southern California. It's so cool. Somebody else from this area of California, that he's meeting all these people he wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet otherwise. And so he ended up playing in this tournament for Spain, and the Spanish soccer league called La Liga. And sorry, he ended up doing really well the first weekend, and he made it to the semifinals but lost. And then this time he made it to the finals, and how the finals were selected was, he had to play against, it's usually an influencer, could be a past player, a current player. His happened to be a young man called Luco de la Torre, and he plays for a team in Spain. And he also plays on the U.S. men's national team. So he's projected to play in the World Cup and everything. And so here was this really cool opportunity, just to even interview him and ask him questions. So he did that this morning, and before that, when I woke up, of course I wanted to make sure he was awake, which he was, but, go in there and be good luck. What do you need? Do you need any help with anything? And, do you want me to print anything of the things that he was sending me? Do you want me to email it to you? What was it? And, so I kind of could feel myself getting not anxiety, but maybe a little bit of anxiety, nervousness is probably the better word I would say for it. I was just so nervous for him. And so I found myself trying to keep busy. And then I really did a lot of before, I'd be in there, just the third grade penguin project that I took over of Bradley's. I'd want to take over and be these are the questions you need to ask. These are the things, do this, and I offered suggestions, and, I just said, but honestly, at the end of the day, you have a great story, speak from the heart. You can't go wrong if you're just being honest about who you are and speak from your heart. You're passionate about soccer. You're passionate about the FIFA video game, EAFC. You're passionate about like a lot of different things. You're curious, like, you know, so you can't go wrong. And, you know, just like go out there and do your best. But again, like it was this like, you know, I wanted it so bad for him because, you know, who doesn't love a good ending? Like here is this crazy year, you know, June 23rd will have marked the year anniversary of this, like, injury that was literally life-changing. And you know, it was, you know, who doesn't love this story where like it starts like this and then, you know, you go through all this turmoil and tragedy and in the end, you know, you want a trip to Spain, like you know, like that's cool, right? Like I don't know, like it just makes it almost feel like all of that suffering and stuff is almost not worth it, but like it is true. Like everything, like I was saying and everything he was saying, like on every one of those walks, that it was like, we know this happens for a reason. Like it sucks. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, we're not like, hey, cool, this happened for a reason. Let's see what happens now. Like, no, like it sucks, right? Like when you have a plan and you have an idea of what's going to happen and something just comes out of left field and is like, nope, you know, like almost like there's that song, God's Plan. Like, nope, this is not it. Like the universe is like, sorry, you think this is going to be your path or where you're supposed to be right now, but I'm going to throw a little monkey wrench in it. And it's like, you're not expecting that. You know, I can flash back to, like I say, like getting married. I can flash back to having my first child, you know, getting pregnant with 2 other ones. Like all those things were unexpected surprises and, you know, things that were happening. And you're just kind of like, okay, you know, like, well, I'll just go with these things. But it doesn't mean like it's exactly what you wanted or how you wanted things to happen. But again, it's how you look at it, right? Like, is it something that's for your benefit or is it something like to harm you? So like everything, like we had to keep saying over and over was like, this is happening for me. This is not happening to me. Like this did not happen to Dylan. This happened for Dylan. Like I really needed to like hammer that concept in because there were some days that it just felt like, this is happening to him. And like, I remember even myself who has a lot more tools now and a lot more, you know, evolution in my own personal life and journey. And I was just like, I should have listened to myself. Like, wonder if like, you know, like I remember us being on walks and it was summer. And like I say, the walks were, I'm not at first like to the end of the driveway. That was like one day's walk. And then, you know, with the crutches and the knee brace, you know, I was like, we're moving. You're an athlete. We're not sitting in bed. You're getting up and moving. Like, this is it. Whatever you can do. I'm not saying push yourself, but like your body needs to move, like something. And it hurt. It was so painful for him. But I remember talking and, you know, I was like, gosh, what if I should have just listened to my gut. Like I knew it. And he's like, Mom, don't go there. Like, Mom, don't even do that. Like, it's not worth it. It's already passed. It's already done. Like, this is what was supposed to happen. And I'm like, oh my gosh, when the student becomes the teacher, you know, I was like, how can I argue this? You know, like here again, he is the young one and being so wise. And I'm so wrapped up in like wanting to fix and prevent every problem for my children, you know, and I couldn't. And he was like more accepting again, like I said, of this injury than I was 1000%. So I'm absolutely in awe of him for that alone. But then so I felt like super like kind of nervous this morning. I haven't had like a nervous feeling in a long time, but you know, like, so I did my normal routine and I did it, but this time I was like very mindful, like, because again, I'm figuring out what is my experience? What is going on? Like, instead of just pushing through it, pushing past it, ignoring it, I'm like, oh, I feel a disturbance in the force. There is something brewing in my body. And I try to take a moment when I start to feel that and say, what is going on? Like, what is it you're feeling? And, you know, then I was able to like narrow it down and be like, I'm nervous. I feel very nervous for Dylan because he has this interview and, you know, I want him so badly to have a win. I want him so badly, like after having missed out an entire, you know, he just joined that semi-pro team. So after missing the whole summer of play that he had planned, after missing his whole spring or fall season of soccer, after missing his whole winter high school season, like all these things. I'm like, if he could just get one win, like that would be so cool, you know, like, and so I just was so nervous for him for this experience. But I knew he had it, but I was just nervous. And then I actually was like, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my meditation. And this time I was like, I'm going to do a guided one. And I found this one gentleman I really like. And so, you know, I've tried a couple other ones and I don't like their voice or whatever it is or what they're saying. But I like this guy. I like his music. It's, you know, it's exactly. And I feel like because like I was thinking about myself recently, I was thinking about, because tonight I went to a dance class and I don't usually go on Monday nights, but I was thinking about how I think because I live in such a male dominated house, like growing up as a child and as an adult, like for some reason, I prefer male teachers. I realized that, like, obviously I love Javier. I've made that abundantly clear. I'm, you know, a huge fan amongst many, you know, I'm not the only one, but I am a huge fan of his. And then also, I did a dance class today and I realized, you know, I really like male teachers, and I don't know where I was going with all of that part. I like completely forgot. But yeah. So anyways, I've realized like I resonate like with male teachers. I tried tonight a pickleball class for the first time, and because like I've played pickleball like with my family, I don't even say I played it because we played wrong rules, wrong everything, like everything was wrong. It should not even be called pickleball. We were just using a pickleball paddle and a wiffle ball. Actually, even one time there was 6 of us and only one court. So 2 of us we just made up our own game. 2 of us used a tennis racket and then the other 4 used a pickleball racket, and we used the pickleball wiffle ball. So that tennis, oh man, that was good. Like Karina and I got that tennis racket with the wiffle balls, man, those things were flying. Watch out, like we were about to take somebody's head off, but it was pretty fun. But yeah, like something about like men like connect with me more like on a like teaching level. I did have one female teacher, and I connect with the female teachers that either have a little bit more, they're a little bit more like tough in a way, or the ones that are like super like, and I guess this is kind of like my personality. It's like I'm kind of tough. Like I'm getting a little, you know, a little rounder on the edges. Like I said, I'm becoming a little more gentler. However, you know, it's that, or the ones that are like this one, she ended up moving to Utah, loved her so much. I think I cried every one of her warm up and cool downs because, you know, she was like saying everything I needed to hear when I was just starting that journey about taking care of yourself and self-care. And it was as if she like jumped from my mind, you know, into her mouth, the words, and they came out. And I was like, yes, like it was just confirming all the things that I was trying to like implement into my life. And, you know, she was a little bit older than me. And I was like, I just looked up to her in that way. And she just had this way of like really uniting her class and making it a community. And she was always like, you know, look at the person next to you and, you know, say hi, introduce yourself. And, you know, and I loved that part about it and about her. So I liked her. And then there's this other lady, the one that she has the English accent. I love her too, because she shares so many stories and she's a little bit tough. And as well as the Pilates teacher, she's a little bit tough. And even this one yoga lady, she's not tough, but she's stern. She's got her things, you know, she knows what she's talking about. She's very good, but I don't deal well with like the super, I don't know what it is, but yeah. So I definitely prefer like a male teacher. And I literally still can't remember why I even went to that side street. But anyways, so like I found it, my meditation. So I have found I prefer when I do the guided ones to certain kinds of men. I don't want like a super aggressive kind of guy, like, which typically I don't find in the meditation form state either. But like, I I think there's something about like a man that like almost gives me that like safe feeling and stuff. So I ended up finding him, and I was like, okay, what I need today is I do need a guided one. In my own thoughts, in my own mind, I'm going to go in too many places. So I did one, and I like knew exactly, like before, I was like, I need one about calm. And I don't think I've ever done one with like the theme being calm, but I was like, that is what I need today. And I'm telling you, it was so helpful to have that. It really just brought everything back. Like, I was like, okay. And I felt 1000% better. It was just a 5-minute meditation, but it was like exactly what I needed today. And so then, like there was that part of me that was like, should I just, like a mom, like, when your kid's going off to preschool or kindergarten or daycare or first day of school, and you're like, should I just like go in with them? Like, should I go in during his interview? And I was like, no. You do not do that. Let him just do this. He can fly. Just let him do it. Like, he doesn't need mom there to be like, say that, like let him have his space. But I did go into my oldest one because he came out, and so then Brad came out and was like, I don't hear anything. I'm like, it hasn't started yet. And he was like, okay. I'm like, do we sit by the door and listen? And he was like, you can go ahead and do that. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. But I ended up like doing my run, and like, it was so nice because like, I was like thinking like, I need something to really like almost distract me. I'm like, should I put on music? But then I didn't want to be loud because they're recording this thing live, and then they're going to like broadcast it on Twitch or their Instas or whatever, some social media platforms or whatever it is. And so I didn't want my music playing in the background. And I know I could have put headphones, but I kind of was still like trying to listen a little bit. But I started writing, and I was so excited because like everything was like flowing through. Like, I was talking about how, yesterday I did decide like at the last minute, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and record a second audition for the Big Brother and Survivor because I haven't submitted them, because my theory was this, like I still have my first one, the first day's worth. I have my second day's worth, and then I can look at them and see out of both days which one I like. If I don't like anything on the second day, I'll still go with the first ones. Like I have it. But if I didn't film, I only had the first days. So I ended up refilming yesterday, which like ended up taking up a chunk of my day that I wasn't planning on taking up. And then obviously like Dylan had this other like mock interview and thing, and then that like took up another big chunk of like the day I wasn't like planning on, because we were talking and then he was laying in my room and things like that. So I, prioritized that. So I kind of was like not disappointed, but I was like, I had so many things like I had set out and planned to do yesterday in the wake of the morning, and then kind of life got in the way, and other decisions and choices came, and those took priority over the other decisions, and some things got done and some things did not get done, and some things were so big they weren't going to get done in the first place, let's be real, but they were still there, right? Like it's okay to have these bigger goals, bigger decisions, bigger things to make, and then obviously it's small little things. So even just writing them down is in a form like making some decision, because now I'm taking some kind of action and getting it like out of my mind onto paper. Okay, now I can start executing a plan for that. But I started writing, and like, I don't know, like I read this one book one time, and I can't remember what it was called, but she was an author, and I want to say perhaps she was the author that wrote the Eat, Pray, Love book. But this wasn't Eat, Pray, Love. It was a different book. And she was in there talking about like magic. She was talking about like how, like this idea for a book had came into her mind. And this was a long time ago, like a couple years. So I may get this wrong or right or whatever. Anyways, she's talking about magic. And this like concept has always like, after I heard her talk about this, I was like, that's kind of interesting. I never thought about life in this way, or like this is how ideas come and go. And it was like talking about how like kind of like ideas are their own like life force and entities, and they can come into you, but if you do nothing with it, they're going to leave and go to somebody else. And she had this example of this like a whole idea of this book or novel, and then she was going to write it, and then life got in the way, and then all of a sudden she met somebody else, and then like this exact same idea, very like specific and very like not normal of an idea, this other lady was writing this book, and she was like, what? Like, there's no way. Like, so like, it, you know, she had this theory that they're of like magic and kind of like things come and go. And like today was like one of those magic days. It was like, I remember telling you guys, and I remember feeling this way, like thinking about how I couldn't start writing because I didn't know the name of my book. I didn't know, like, I felt like that's where you had to start. I didn't know what my book was going to be about. Like, and then I finally was like, just write. Like, just write. Whatever comes will come. Like, if it's a fiction novel, if it's a child book, like I have I have this really good idea for a child's book, but it's so like pushed down that I'm like, I have not got to it yet at all, even to begin. I've like thought about it and worked on it like minutely, but like my other stuff takes such precedence over it, probably because I don't have littles right now. And like, so it's not like I'm in this like genre all the time. Whereas like the book I am writing, it's more like in my powerhouse. So I all of a sudden, like I'm writing, I'm doing my stuff, and it was like magic. Like all of a sudden, like everything connected, like all the dots. Like I'm not going to do any spoilers here because I'm going to let it spin around in my head and be like, is this the one? But I was like, yes, I think I have the name of my YouTube. I have the name of my podcast. I have the name of my book. Like I am like, oh my God, it all came together. Like, yes, this is the one. It's available on GoDaddy. Like there isn't a website for it. I just have to now like go check like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all those other places and see like, is it available there? And if it is, I'm like, I swear this was meant for me. Like, I can't believe this is available. Like of all the ones, I'm like, yes. Like I was so pumped up. I was like flowing. I had like ideas off of it. I was like literally writing my intro. I'm like, yes, like it's been here all along. Like it's not too long. Like it is. I was like, yes. So I like am super excited because it was like, I'm home. Like I found my home. And like, I feel like for me, like having this place and like the name and this belonging is like, and I was like, I was like, hi, I'm Natasha with da 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 da. And like, I was like, yes, it just rolls off the tongue. Like I can see it in writing. Like I'm so excited. Like I couldn't believe it. And I was like, I was so distracted by that while there was like all this silence because he was on. Had to get on at like 8:30 in the morning and then started working with them and making sure like all the tech stuff worked. And then he was finalist number 2. And so he had to wait while the other finalists did their whole interview and things like that. And so I didn't hear anything for a long time. It wasn't until like 10:40 that suddenly I could hear him talking. And then I stopped, like, of course, like, and I felt like such a little kid because our rooms are like within the same hallway or whatever. So they're not that far apart. And it's a very intimate household here. Like everybody here knows what I'm doing. For a long time, they are like, who are you talking to in your room? I'm like, I am talking to myself. They're like, no, you're not. You sound like you're talking on the phone. I'm like, yes, but I'm talking to myself and I'm putting it on YouTube or podcast, whatever this is. And they're like, really? I don't know about that. I'm like, I'm telling you. They're like, so you just sit there and talk to yourself for this long? I'm like, yes, I can talk a lot. And they're like, okay. I'm like, yes. So when it comes out, you better like and subscribe, okay? But anyways, so I felt like a little kid. Like I literally laid on the floor in my room with the door open. His door was closed and like laid there like this, like listening. And I was just like, I could only hear his side. I couldn't hear their responses or what their questions were, or anything. But just like hearing that, like, it was like very cool because I was just like, I'm so proud because like he was sitting there like preparing his little questions and I'm sure that's very nerve-wracking. I mean, this is like his 3rd interview, which one was like for Harvard, one was for yesterday for like a mock interview, but it was a female and she asked a ton of questions and stuff too. So it's like a little different. Like I had Googled this guy and he is definitely, at least appears to be very introverted, very like an observer, of like, he does not seem talkative at all. So I was like, okay, Dylan, you may have to have some things prepared. This is like, from what the videos I've seen of him, he's like a very calm, very, like the demeanor isn't like, someone that's going to be like carrying the conversation. And I was kind of right, pretty right. I'll let you guys know it's going to be broadcasted soon. So I'll let you know. You can go check it out. But he ended up doing so well. And I was laying there and I was just like, oh, I hope so for him. Like, I just so hope so for him. And at the end, I could just hear him saying, like his little last minute, like, plead his case, like, saying like, I won't let you down. Like, I'd love this opportunity, but either way, like, I'm such a fan. Like, it's been an honor talking to you. And I was just like, good kid, And then he was like, there's a pause. And then I heard the like, thank you, I won't let you down. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, wait, they're filming. So like, maybe they're filming like, okay, react as if you won and react as if you didn't win, So I was like, I didn't really know. And then I stayed there waiting. And I heard him like put everything down. And then I was like, I'm going to grab my phone. So I grabbed my phone and then he opened the door and I was standing there with the phone and he's like, I'm going to Spain, like so excited. And so I was super excited to see that. And he's like, it's so funny too, Mom. He's like, some people would be like more excited about this Harvard interview than I was. And here I am, like, I'm so excited about this. Like, this is like the best thing like that's ever happened. And this is so exciting. And so I'm happy for him. And then like, he's like, obviously he told his brother. We were like all like so happy. I was like screaming, giving him high five. And, it was a good time. Like, I just felt like it was so great. And then I was hungry. I was really like in my flow now. I was like, okay, cool. I like spent all this time with Dylan and I was like ready to get back. He's like, okay, but I'm hungry. Let's go to lunch. And I had promised him like, if you make it, we'll go out to lunch and stuff. So he had never tried Korean barbecue. So we went out and had Korean barbecue. It was my second time. And it was pretty good, but I was just not hungry. So I was like, not the place to go when you're just not hungry. But we ended up having a nice lunch together. And then he was like super tired, like from such like a adrenaline filled weekend and everything. Like all of a sudden it like hit him and he was like, I am so drained and tired right now. I'm like, I bet you've been getting up early, you've been competing, like you've had all these like these new experiences. Like, I am not surprised. So he's going to Spain. Isn't that freaking cool? So there's a big controversy about who's going with. And so, I'm like, listen, my mom's going. And, but we'll see if anybody else comes along. We don't know the dates. So I'll look into it and see if it's like feasible for anything. I quickly looked and like some of the flights were like $1,400 alone. I'm like, oh God, that's a ripoff. I'm not spending that on all the family, to go out there for this. So we'll see what happens. Maybe some of them will come join. And then, yeah, so I'm super happy for him. Like, hard work does pay off. Like, it just shows like he has been grinding. He has made all these new friends. They've been practicing these friendlies just because they lost, like before, like had the courage to ask these people. And like, I'm just telling you, like all that work you do in the shadows when it seems like it's not making any progress, that it's not making a difference. Like for him, each game he played, each game he watched, each game like he participated in, like each tournament that he was in and then didn't win, or had the courage to keep coming back. Like, it's the reminders, like it is the validation, like this stuff works. And yeah, it may not be like, oh, you make one choice and go to the gym one day, and it may not, like the next day you're not suddenly like, oh my God, I am a size 2 now, or whatever it is you're desiring to be. Like, no, it's a long, hard process and you just have to keep with it, but you don't have to make it so painful, right? Like, you can have fun in the process. So like me today, like I've wanted to try, usually Chris and I have had couples therapy at 4 o'clock on Monday. And so that coincided with when they have this like drop in basic level pickleball teaching class. And so I've always wanted to take it. And if it ever happened to be our class was canceled, I was always like, oh, I'll do it. But then it wasn't part of my habit. So I never went. And the last few weeks it's been raining. Well, I didn't know they had it indoor if it was raining. I should have thought about that. But I was like, oh, it must just be canceled. So I haven't gone, but I went today. I met 4 new people. Like, I learned how to play the game. We played around. Like, it was kind of fun. Like, I had a good time. So it was interesting to get to meet new people. And then now part of this pickleball WhatsApp group for the club. They're like, you may get a lot of things. I'm like, okay, well, I have the notifications off. Don't worry. I'm not getting your pickleball things unless I go seek it. But here, and I was like, well, what happens if I want to play pickleball and I don't have anybody to play with? And he was like, well, you socialize and you'll come. And it's a very social, inclusive group and stuff like that. I'm like, okay. So that was really exciting to hear that, like, I don't have to rely on having people I already know to play. Like, I can meet people along the way. And I'm excited about that because, I do a lot of the same thing, a lot of the same dancing and stuff, and I love it. Like, I have so much fun, but I think it's so good to challenge yourself to do new things and have new experiences and meet new people. And, like each person I meet, each new class experience I have, like, I learn so much beyond the like physical part. Like, I learn so much emotionally, spiritually, and physically, like mentally, everything. So I get really excited about that. So yeah, I'm going to continue with the pickleball. Hopefully I'll get to do that again next Monday. And then he was telling me, like, when there's just like drop-in times too, he's like anytime after 5, it gets busy out here. And then people come and people will need more or need somebody. So like, they're like, just don't be shy. Just come up. And I'm not shy. So this is going to be no problem for me. So yay, I'm excited about that. And then after it like just worked out like the time wise, from the end of the pickleball, like there happened to be a dance class. So I was like, oh, I'll just take a dance class. So I got to have like a little bit of fun dancing. And, here I am. My steps are done. I can come now. When I'm done with this, I'm going to do my shower. I'm going to finish up some of the activities I didn't finish yesterday. So like life is really going good. Like, I'm super excited about all the things that are happening. I was looking at my calendar already because, like I said, I leave to like Vegas next week. And, I started thinking, well, how do I, like, do I still film there? Like, what do I do? So I need to like brainstorm on that now. And, I have to miss this so far, unless there's a cancellation. I was so silly of me. Like, I scheduled my son's surgeon's appointment, the post-op surgery kind of like appointment that he needs, and the PT months ago, because this has been a long time, and I've scheduled it right in the middle of my class. So I'm gonna have to miss my Thursday class, which is like one of my favorites, but it's okay. Like, I'll be okay. I'm gonna survive. So that's why I really wanted to do a couple extra activities today to kind of make up for that Thursday, kind of wonky schedule where I'll be going to PT and the surgeon's appointment with Dylan, which will also be exciting because I think that'll be considered his like 7-month post-op appointment, or 6-month post, but he's already way past 6 months. But so that'll be exciting just to kind of check up and check in and see what's going on. I'll ask his physical therapist, like, if it's necessary. Maybe if it's not, then I'll move it to the following week. Since, that would be an easier week for me to miss, the thing, since that evening I'm going to go to Vegas. So yeah, I don't know. Got a lot of things going on here. And the more I feel like I get done, the more freedom I'll have to like focus on these projects, especially now, like that, like magic I experienced today, just figuring out like the name and everything, where it all came together. I was like, it just gave me this new breath of fresh air and like focus and vision. I'm like, yes, it is all making sense. And I think it's because I'm putting in all these little efforts, right? Like, I'm doing the research behind the scene. I'm learning new things about social media that I just don't know about. And I'm learning to keep this habit consistent, which is why, I struggle with like, okay, when I'm out of town, how do I incorporate that in? Because I also want to be very present for my son. This is his experience. And that's what I'm there for, is to spend that time with him. And so how do I carve out time to do this? And then again, I was like, be flexible. Maybe I only do 15 minutes that day. Maybe I only do 20 minutes. Maybe I only do 30 minutes. Maybe I'll have time to do a full hour. Like, who knows? But I'm going to try to keep it flexible. And if I can't, I'm going to, decide in the time, like, hey, I'm going to be super present today and I'm not going to tape, like, or I'm going to take advantage of being here in Vegas and, go see some of the sites or something like that. So yeah, like, it's mostly about soccer. It's not about seeing the sites, but if I happen to see some sites in some places again, hey, that's great too. But yeah, so I just say all that to say, keep working, like, keep setting those small goals. And I know I keep reiterating that. I cannot say it enough. Like, so have those ideas, like, make those choices, like, really think about what it is that you want, like, what's going on, and decide. And I know, like, as somebody who struggles with making decisions, like big decisions sometimes, like, it can be really hard. And like, I just want to get it right. Like, and I'm sure you experience that too. Like, but sometimes I get so stuck in this like limbo land of trying to get things right that I get nothing done. Like, it's like I procrastinate it, or I get like this rush of like where I was last year on this other project. I had this huge rush of like, I'm getting it done. Here's my deadline. Here are all these things. And I started really busting it out, and I was making huge mental progress and physical progress. I was putting a ton of energy, a ton of focus, and so much got done. But then something in life came, and it took all that time and energy, and now it's literally collecting cobwebs and doing nothing. And I almost am like, I just don't look over there, pretend this is not happening, and go about your day, because all these other areas of your life are working out really well. And you only have so many hours in the day. So it's like, either you do less of this and include this in, or you don't do this at all and include, get all this one done. So it's just so hard sometimes to make these decisions, but just do whatever you can do. Make the decisions you can make the choices you can make, and make them small. And know that even then it's not going to be perfect. Like my uncle used to say, like, I would sit there and be like, this idea, and he'd be like, just do it. Like, just do it. And I, like Nike said, just do it. There isn't a wrong answer. Like, once you get on this path, if it's the wrong one, you'll figure it out, and then you'll make another decision based on that. You can change, you can pivot, you can adapt. But that like people pleasing, always appeared to be perfect, like, person in me, even though I didn't appear to be perfect in so many ways, but like I had this perception, like I had this perception in my mind that I was being, at least outwardly seemed like things were all well. And carrying that with me has made it a little bit challenging to make decisions. I tend to be loyal to a fault because it's comfortable, it's easy, it's known, like I say, I've had my car is older than my youngest son, and like I kind of, we've outlived and outgrown this house. Like, I was supposed to only live here for a year. I was like, I'm going to move someplace I really despise so that I will not feel comfortable in this house. This literally is what I said. So I will not feel comfortable in it, and it will motivate me to, do whatever it is I need to do to get my own place. And then here we are, like 20 years later, seriously. And, it's insane to me. So, I'm working, I can't beat myself up about like those kind of things and those decisions, but, I can notice the patterns and say, okay, here are some things. And if you like it, stick with it. Like, if it's working for you, not a problem. But if there's any kind of like icky feeling in there, or you're questioning, could there be a different way? Like, is this the only way for me to survive? And the answer is, yeah, there's other ways, or maybe there's other ways. Explore them. Like, go on a navigation journey here. Like, this is what I am doing, is I'm just trying to see what other possibilities are there out in this world. What other ways can I go to sleep today and then be a little bit better tomorrow? And that's all I want to do, is just be a little bit better. I mean, if I could be a lot better, sure, I will take it. But the goal here is just consistent, continual improvement. And a lot of times that means I need to sit back and acknowledge. I need to sit back and accept and raise my hand and be like, oops, yep, I did that. Or, oh yeah, this situation made me feel really bad, or I made somebody else feel really bad. Like, I didn't know. I thought, it's sometimes we just don't know how our best of intentions land for somebody else. And, when you want to be a part of this society and community and family and friends, you don't want to show up in a way that you're hurting people. Like I said, when I think about that one lady at the gym and the way, the impression she's leaving on everybody, that she's a B word, that, she's this narcissist and she's this thing and that thing, and she's rude and she will hurt anybody to get something herself. It's like, isn't this sad? Like, that is such a sad existence. Like, think about it. You can either be this really monstrous person that is nobody wants to be around, or you can be an energy of life and force and goodness and be somebody that people respect and inspire to be like, and not like the person that's like a lesson of like, oh, I hope I don't behave this way, or this is not that. So think about how are you representing yourself to the world. And I get it, because I think back in times, like I think back about, when I was going to classes and I was struggling to get in the car to go. I was like, I just don't want to go right now because I'm so sad about what's happening in my life, whether it be my uncle passing away, whether it be, my son getting injured, whether it be my marriage of 24 years on the brink of divorce, whether it be, the insults that were thrown at me that day, or, the insecurities that crept up on me. And it made me feel like I just want to lay in bed and I don't want to get up right now, and convincing myself to say, let's just go and try. I'm not telling you have to go and be 110%. What I'm saying is I need you to be today's 110%. And today's 110% may be yesterday's 2%. And that's okay. Just go and do it. And every time I did, like, convince myself to get up and in an essence, like almost like force, like just say, just go do it. Like, if you don't like it, if you get there and it's too much for you to bear and be there, just turn around, walk out, go to your car and leave. It's okay. It's not like once you get there, they lock the doors and you're stuck in there. Like, position yourself in the back of the room, put your bag in the back of the room, and you'll be fine to leave. You'll be okay. And I'm telling you, 100% of the time that I went, when I was in that mood where I was struggling to like get out of bed or get off the sofa or get out of the chair, whatever it was, get out of the car, and go, 100% of the time I did, I was so glad I did. Like, the minute I would get in the room with the lights, with the people, with the talking, with the music, especially. I'm a huge music person. And so when the music gets going, it just brings a whole different energy and vibe. And you're like, okay, it's go time. Like, for an hour of my life, I'm going to put whatever stuff is going on hold. And I'm just going to be super present here. And I'm not saying that there are a couple times, for the most part, I've gotten really good at when I'm dancing, it's just about my dancing. Like, especially when it's my favorite class, like, it is just about that. And the music is mostly fun. So it's not like, it's like fun or powerful music. So it's not like all of a sudden there's a sad song or something, that reminds me of something. No. So, like, feeling that powerful and that strength and that confidence again at a time when you're feeling like really weak and vulnerable and insecure is such a gift. It is so healing. And so I have always felt so glad I went. I'm not saying that all of a sudden when the class wasn't over, I wasn't sad again and thought of it, but I rarely ever. I mean, there's probably been, out of all the classes I've been to, maybe 5 to 10 times where life's problems were so big or some situation was so strong on me that I, even through my dance, was like thinking about it. And those times I know, hey, there's something really, really seriously going on. Like if you are having a trouble right now to like tune this out, like this really needs attention. Because usually I just put everything, you know, on the back burner, which is so nice. It's such a joy to do that, especially for me back then, where it was just everything running so rapidly, like multitasking. Even like I remember my kids and Chris would be like, how many things are in your brain? It was like multiple kids coming home from school, multiple levels of school, multiple different schedules going on. And it was like rapid fire, like bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, ba, bum. And all this was in there. It was so much going on. And so I'm so grateful for those opportunities that I do dance and everything is quiet, and then working on it with the meditation, because every time I practice this now, I am better and better at just getting silent. Like when I first started, it was like when the kids used to come home from school and it was that Bjork song about being oh so quiet. And then all of a sudden it's like, blah, and there's, you know, cymbals crashing and it was just chaos. And then they would go to sleep and it'd be oh so quiet. And then they wake up and it's chaos again. And then, okay, they go back to school and it'd be like so calm. And then it's it was like chaos again. And that was like my life. It was like this calm, then chaos, calm, and then chaos. And then even when it was calm, I was always in preparation for the chaos, right? Like preventative maintenance. It was like, how do we mitigate the chaos? Like, okay, I'm going to have the snacks ready. I'm going to have the after school stuff prepped. I'm going to have, you know, this going. I'm going to have dinner, whatever it is. Like I'm going to have each one of their soccer bags laid out. I'm going to have the dance stuff ready. You know, like how can I mitigate the crazy? And, you know, be like, I wanted to like sit in the car and be like, okay, we're drawing straws now. And this person gets to first tell me about their day. And then the next one, because they'd all get in and be like, blah, 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 blah. And so it was nice when they had different pickup times, because you're like, okay, cool. I can listen to you as we drive over to this kid, and I'll listen to you as we drive over to that kid, and then I'll listen to you as we drive to this kid, you know. And I felt like everybody got attention. But when it was like a time that like if I didn't pick up and Chris did and they all came in at once and I was there, it was just like blah, like everybody at once. And I, you know, remember having to like feel like that sensory overload, like, oh my gosh, like there is one of me, I'm trying to listen. And there's like, so, and then they're like, do you hear what I'm saying? You know, like it was just like so many like things coming in, plus whatever I was physically doing, which is usually like preparing them some kind of food or something like that, or getting ready for like to tell them whatever I wanted to tell them about, like, okay, so this afternoon I'm getting you to practice a little bit early, and then I have to get you late because this one has practice across town, and this, like trying to figure out, like, then sometimes they were for a while, they would have multiple sports. Okay, absolutely crazy then, because it was like sometimes multiple sports or like multiple activities, like, okay, Girl Scouts and this, like, what was I thinking? I definitely should have nailed it down to like been like one activity. That's it. But no, super mom here was like, oh no, yeah, you can do baseball and soccer. So it'd be like, okay, you need to take your baseball bag. You're gonna have baseball practice from 4 to 5. Okay, and then we're gonna rush over and you have soccer practice from 5:15 to 7:30. You know, like, and then it would be like just madness. And then, you know, like, oh no, doesn't work out where like you are in the same park or the same area even as your siblings. Is like one kid here, one kid there, one kid here, one kid there, one kid starts then, one starts then, one starts then, one ends then. Like it was strategic. I probably could have like planned out like wartime things. Like it was like that was like what it felt like. It was like a war boardroom. It was like, okay, you know, you have a big, huge, humongous calendar down so that you can write everything in. You got a certain color for each kid. Like, okay, Brad, you're blue, Dylan, you're green, Tyler, you're red, Karina, you're purple. Like, you know, it was like, okay, ready. I don't want to be purple. I want to be pink. Okay, Karina, you're pink. Fine. Okay, fine. Like this is this is the least of my worries, you know? And just, I remember mapping everything out and feeling like so crazily overwhelmed and like, okay, and here's where we will squeeze in dinner. You know, here is where this will happen. it is a miracle I got that all accomplished. And I remember just like Chris was like, I would be like, okay, what are we gonna do? He's like, listen, you figure it out. You just tell me where I need to go. So it would be like every day, like, okay, today here's this. And I would like send him a weekly calendar from like Excel or whatever back in the day and be like, okay, here's where you need to be. And it was like, okay. But then I needed to always check, like, okay, like you have this one, right? Like, yeah, I guess I'm supposed to, right? And, just it wasn't very confident in that, I was still like on call because if something came up and, his work was, taking too long or whatever, I need to figure out how to be in there as a plan B. Like you're going to be sitting for a few minutes and then, whatever it was. But we made it through that chaos. Like, I can't believe it. And this year, like I say, because Dylan was injured, that like last year of the two parents having, multiple sets of kids and multiple sets of sports, that was like kind of taken away. And so, it's kind of weird to like have both parents at one kid, the evolution of like how it began, right? Like when Brad was at his games, it was like the whole family was there and it was a family experience. Brad has a t-ball game, the whole crew, the stroller comes out, the snacks, the toys, the blankets, the bubbles, the cars, the travel games, the coloring books, the magnetic stuff, like everything came out, the whole crew, every game, every practice. Then as soon as Karina starts playing, right, we're now a divide and conquer family. And, Chris would be at some things and I would be at some things. And then I would try to map it out. Cause again, he was like, you just tell me where I got to go. And I would try to map it out. So it was like, everything was fair. It was like 50-50. I got to see half of her stuff and half of his stuff. And if it happened to be they didn't conflict, then the whole crew went. And that was for both kids. And then more time went on and now Dylan went in. And the funny thing about Dylan was like the first time I had signed him up. So when he was born, Dylan was like primed to be a soccer player. Like Brad was so excited that he was a boy. Cause like, even though Karina played soccer, it just was like, she wasn't into it the way Bradley was at all. And like the minute he was born, like Bradley was literally like, he would sit there on the floor and then like Dylan would be in a bouncer and he would like push a soccer ball over to him. And like, he'd be like jumping, like, once he got a little bit bigger and he's moving around the bouncer, he would then kick the ball like accidentally. And Brad would be like, oh, he kicked a soccer ball. And like, he would do it again. And like, Brad was like training him to be like, you are going to be my soccer buddy, if you like it or not. And so like, as soon as he started crawling, Brad was kicking balls at him and he would kick them back. And like, they started playing pretty early on. And like I said, he was the third kid. And so much was going on, like trying to get people to everything. And I remember being at one of Bradley's practices. And ironically, the coach of that practice was the man that was coaching Dylan when he tore his ACL. Like just how the small world coincides and links up and how some people are just a part of your story for some reason and season. So this guy was the coach. Dylan is playing on the sideline with me. Tyler's got I got him in the stroller and I still remember the park. I remember exactly where we were. And this guy comes up and he's like, he's a lefty. And I was like, oh no, he's righty. And I was like, this idiot, what is he talking about? Like, how does he even know if he writes with his left hand or right hand? And he was like, no, he is not a righty. And I was like, I think I know my son. He is definitely a righty. And he's like, no, watch him kick the ball. And I was like, oh, are you talking about kicking the ball? And he was like, yes. What did you think I was talking about? I was like, oh, I thought you were talking about like writing. And he's like, no. He said, kicking a ball. No, go look. And I look over and he was kicking with his left foot. And I was like, is that like a good thing? And he was like, yes, that is like a really unique thing. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. And he's like, are your other kids? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't even know he was. And like, he was young. He was like 2 or 3 at this time. And he was like dribbling the ball and thing. And he's like, oh, he's going to be a great ball player or something like that. So after that, I was like, oh, cool. He's this lefty. I didn't even know what that meant or any significance to it. And then it became this like thing that kind of defined him. And he was always like, this really good player. And he always had a lot of passion for it. There were some phases of his life where it was like, he was a kid. He didn't want to go out and do extra practice, or, like there were times when he had a coach that was pretty like verbally abusive, and he kind of like made my son, as well as a couple other players, it kind of turned them off of the game for a bit. And that's kind of what happened there. Like, it was just very discouraging. Like I said, it was the only coach in time that like I ever saw, like at the end of the game, it didn't matter. It was like 100 degrees. He would sit there and have like a 30-minute talk with them. I was getting so heated. I was like, thank God he's my third kid, because and I've already popped off to a coach before, because I was like, gonna be like, we need to go. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. 0% of what you are telling these kids right now is sticking, except for the worst things that you are saying. Like, anything you're saying to make them more insecure or feel bad about themselves, don't worry, that is sticking there. But if you want this team to thrive together, what you are doing right now is the opposite. And so I remember just sitting there being so annoyed, like, because he would take them away, but you could still hear it, and I was just like, again, I'm super protective, and I'm super protective of these kids. I've known them since they were like 5 years old, and now they were like, I don't know, 10, 11, something like that. And this guy is just ripping into them, calling kids like overweight. Like, I was just like, this guy is out of hand, like, this is ridiculous. And, you just want to go in and protect. It's just such an awkward situation. And, I remember just like Dylan and all the other kids would just like walk off the field with their heads flung low. And I was like, they're already feeling bad enough about a loss or anything. They don't need to sit here and now like have like character assassinations like done. I don't know. Didn't like that guy. So glad he was gone and not their coach anymore. So like during that phase, he kind of was like losing his like love of the game, and or at least playing. Like, he wasn't putting in that extra time. So now he does, and now he does again, because he's been able to go out and finally like do some little dribbling work and things like that. So it's not like anything to the level of where he would like to be yet, but he's closer than when this whole thing started. And ironically, like, there's been so many kids that he's known and like grew up going to elementary school with, he's known his whole time, and that have recently torn their ACLs too. Like this one kid we just saw last week after a doctor's appointment, which it was so funny because he went to the doctor's appointment, and after that, when Dylan was diagnosed with the actual ACL tear, he wanted Chipotle after, and I was like, listen, whatever you want, I don't care if it's the moon, I will get it for, like, this is the time. And he was like, I just want Chipotle. And so I went in and got it for him. He obviously didn't want to walk in, and that friend was working behind the counter, and he's like, oh, how's Dylan? Hi. And I was just like, we just found out he tore his ACL. He's like, no, oh my gosh. And he was so sympathetic. He was like, oh my gosh, he's so good. Like, I feel so bad. He's like, I'll reach out to him. I'm like, thank you. He hooked him up with the Chipotle that day. And as the irony would be, the same store we're now in, many months later. I'm just getting Dylan lunch last week, and Dylan's with me, and all of a sudden that kid walks in. He had just left the surgeon and just found out he needed surgery because he tore his ACL and hurt his meniscus. I was like, what is it about coming to this place after a torn ACL? Like, whatever. And the funny thing was today, Dylan texted his brother, like, I won, da, 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 da. And then I guess his brother told this kid that with the torn ACL, and that kid goes, oh, so you mean in like a year from now, I'm going to be where Dylan is? And he said, yeah. And I was laughing because when we were coming home from the Korean barbecue, I told Dylan, I was like, okay, tell Andrew he's got to double down now, like, on doing these things. So, it's just crazy to me that, everybody has these experiences, and, how you're not that rare in some ways, but you are like an inspiration. I was like, listen, use like if you have any questions, we have them. You need any supplies, you need a knee pillow, you need the ice machine. I'm like, I had 6 weeks between the time we found out and his surgery, and I just literally sat on Amazon and forums, like, what do you need? I bought TENS machines, I bought like bio oil, I bought Moderna, like everything you could possibly need and more, bands, and I don't know if it's a full PT room in there for sure. Like, oh, these sliders for the heel slides, so many things, you name it. I just was like, if I'll be damned if I can't fix it myself, I'm gonna at least make this recovery as efficient and easy and successful as I possibly can. And the crazy thing is, like today, he said, like when we were at the restaurant, and because he's been doing so much sitting and stuff, that he was like, it's just crazy to me that it still hurts to sit all this time. And you know, it's like you forget, because he's not a kid that will sit there and complain about it. But like when you hear that, he was like, it's not concerning, but it's just sad, right? Like, it's just sad because you think you go through all this, you experience all this, that like the pain goes away, but I don't know if it will. Like, I'm like, this is a great question to ask the surgeon. Like, does this just mean you're in pain for the rest of your life? I don't know that answer. Like, do you just get accustomed to this level of pain? Like, I have this hip pain, like, and I've been to PT, and even through the PT, like, yes, I learned how to engage my lower abs, which I am not doing. I have it on my to-do list, but I don't do it very often. I know, I'm trying to get better at that. But, it's not like it like fixed my sciatica. It's not like it fixed the pain. Like, I have this pain in my hip or the SI joint or something like that. Like, and I've had it for many years. Like, it flares up sometimes. Like, I sometimes, like, if I think I do a little bit of overstretching, then it gets really pissed off and flared up. But like the stretching feels so good that like it feels like, oh, this is helping it. But there's like some stretch, and then it's like, I think it like, because I have like these like muscular knots in there or whatever. I don't know what all this stuff is called, but I think it like moves the knot in a way, and then like it's now pressing on a new nerve or something like that. I know it sounds weird, but like it's whatever it's pressing on, and then it goes like insane, and my whole leg is tired. It's so tired it goes to sleep. My leg is numb, my feet are numb, and like on that side, so it's like super painful, and I'm like a little old lady when I get out of bed or the chair. But you know, once I get moving, it's okay. But like sometimes I'm like, oh, it hurts. Like, I'll go to like start a dance class, and I'm like, oh, I can't move right now. Like, and it's so funny too, because there's something about Javier, like even when I'm in that pain, like he comes on and it's like, okay, let's go, and I'm moving through like that pain. But like even my class today, I don't know if it was just like she doesn't push me enough, like mentally or whatever, because she is, I mean, she's doing her dance. But like, I'm like, okay, I can be stiff lady in the back of the room. Like, I'm okay. Like, I'm just here for like a little extra fun. So I say all that to say, thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm so excited to be sharing with you soon what the name of my show is, what the name of my book is. It is all coming together, and I'm hoping that by tomorrow, you know, I'll have had like more time to think about it and be like, yes, is this the one? Is this the one? And then I get to pull the trigger and buy the domain and get really flowing and going. So I'm so excited, and I'm so excited because I'm going to Barcelona. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to Madrid, but I'm going to Spain. Maybe I'll add in Barcelona too. But yeah, like I am so excited about that. So thank you so much, and I'm so proud of my son. I just have to say that, like, please use him as an example of how life can really give you lemons and you can make it to lemonade. And then just really all that work that you do in the background, all that work you do in the shadows, it does pay off. I know it doesn't always feel like it. I will tell you myself, like there were many days that I was like, if I don't do this one workout, like, is it gonna really matter? Like, you know, and I had to have that question with myself. If I don't do the 10K steps today, like, am I suddenly gonna get big again? Like, no, it's not. But it's this, the consistency. I'm 10,000 steps closer each time I do it. So thank you so much. Mwah. Have a great evening, morning, night. And guess what? Go out there, give somebody a big old smile, give them a compliment, and you just watch how they glow up. Mwah. Bye.